Today we're going to pot up our strawberry starts, but there's a couple things we have to do first before we can do that. This is a friendly reminder that if you have not planted your dahlias yet and you live in the Pacific Northwest, now is a safe time to do so. Tomorrow is Mother's Day, and I always use Mother's Day as my cue that it is safe to plant dahlias here in the Pacific Northwest. You probably won't see me plant them for another week or two, but I'm doing it this week right after Mother's Day. Fluffy is just chilling. What matter, Fluffs? Before we can pot the strawberries up, we're going to put them in the window boxes. But before we do that, we have to take out these things. We have to take out the dwarf Alberta Spruce and the wintergreens before we put the strawberry starts in there. It's pretty much, this is the only place we have for the strawberry starts right now, because we are not going to be able to build our raised beds like we had planned on due to other circumstances such as pest control. And where I want the dwarf Alberta Spruce to go is basically along this strip of driveway. But before we can do that, we have to tear down this building and get all of that junk out of the way, because we're going to need to probably have, like, you know, trucks and stuff coming through here. So I can't permanently plant the spruce into the ground yet. So in the meantime, these poor things are going to be moved so many times. Anyways, we're going to put them into these containers here. My original idea when I bought the dwarf Alberta Spruce last winter was to plant them in the huge terracotta pots and leave the terracotta pots along the driveway, because we were going to make the raised beds. And so we were going to put the blackberry starts in the raised beds. But because we're not able to do the raised beds this year, the berries are in the terracotta pots, which means the dwarf Alberta Spruce are going to have to go into these containers temporarily. So we're just going to be filling up these pots with the soil, and this soil came from our berm. It's been mixed for a while. It actually looks pretty good. It's much better than our typical clay soil. Out comes the first one, and we're potting it up. Oh, that looks pretty good. It's home for the next year. I'm hosing it off because I saw a couple spider webs, and I was a bit concerned they might be spider mites. I don't think they were. I think they were actually real spiders, but just in case, I'm hosing it off. This time we're getting smart and potting up the pots before I pull out the dwarf Alberta Spruce. I don't know why we didn't do that the last 2 times. And the last one is done. Quickly just gonna water them in. Step 2 is to make the holes where you're moving the wintergreen to. I think I'll put one on each side of the daffodil. That way I'll remember where the last daffodil is, so that next year when I plant more bulbs, I'll know where to put more bulbs. Hopefully that will remind me. So I'm just scraping off the bark dust off the top before I get into start digging in the dirt, because I'm trying to make the least amount of mess as possible since the mulch is already in this area. It somewhat works. Kind of sounds like I killed the drip line there, but I didn't. It was just starting to turn on. My lovely assistant. Just adding more root starter fertilizer. And did you know if you speed up the film in high speed, you kind of sound like a Jawa from Star Wars? And yes, Star Wars was on the brain because this was around May 4th when I was filming this. Preparing for the second hole while my husband goes and gets the second wintergreen out. So I am just adding the fertilizer that will help get the strawberries roots growing here, and I'm trying to untangle them. They were all in quite a mess. They were not potted up from the guy we got them all. They were just kind of thrown in a big bin all together. We did get like 25-30 starts though for like $8. Well worth it. The type of variety we got are called hoods, And if you live in Oregon or have visited Oregon, you might guess where that name comes from. And that's right, it comes from our mountain called Mount Hood. So this is a local variety to us that was mixed together, hybrid from a couple different types that I currently don't remember. I'll see if I can remember to put them on the screen. And these Hood varieties are super sweet, which is why my husband likes them, because most people with Hoods, they don't even make jam. They just eat them straight off the berry because of their sweetness. Now, the sweetness factor in strawberries doesn't just depend on which variety you get. It also depends on how you grow them. So the first step in growing a successfully sweet strawberry is quite simple. It's location. You want to make sure that you plant the strawberries in a sunny spot. Most strawberries don't grow well in the shade. There are a few varieties that do grow in the shade, but they won't yield as much fruit. So make sure to plant the strawberries in a sunny location. The second step into getting a successfully sweet strawberry is the type of soil that you grow it in. Now, it has been said, and I've read, that the best tasting strawberries are grown in the ground. And if you have a sandy, loamy, slightly acidic soil, then yes, that is perfect. We do not have that here. We have a slightly alkaline, it's high in pH soil, and strawberries don't like to grow in high pH. So that's one of the reasons we are putting them in a container. If you do grow your strawberries in a container, then the type of compost and potting soil that you want to put is one with loam in it. And if that does not have any loam, then you might want to consider adding some sterilized loam into your compost and potting soil that you're putting your strawberries in. But no matter where you grow it, growing your strawberries on your own are going to taste better than the strawberries in the supermarket. The third step into getting a successfully sweet strawberry is the feeding. Strawberries are heavy feeders, and they like a fertilizer that is rich in potassium. They also love nitrogen and phosphorus, but make sure it is a potassium-rich fertilizer. We try to do organic around here just because we have a lot of pets. That doesn't always happen, but that's what we try to go for. Just make sure that you are feeding your strawberries since they love it. You can compost it, fertilize it. I'm not sure if too much fertilizer is a problem for strawberries, but they definitely need some feed. So the fourth step in growing a successfully sweet strawberry is timing. Timing for when to plant them and timing for when to fertilize them. If you are starting your strawberries by seed, you want to start the seed 12 to 14 weeks before your last frost date, which is generally mid-December to February. If you are planting strawberry starts where somebody else has grown it from seed to a start for you, you want to plant the strawberry start around the last frost date. I tend to wait till right after the last frost date, because if you plant before your last frost date and you have a frost, it probably won't kill the strawberry plant, but it will probably eliminate any fruit from that plant for this year. So I always wait until after the last frost date. And around here on the west side of the Pacific Northwest, it is generally in mid to late April. I am about 2 or 3 weeks late for planting my starts, so we may not get any fruit till July. We may not get any this year at all. They are just little and started, so we probably won't get very much fruit, if any at all. But that is when you should plant them. Now, timing for feeding them is you want to fertilize them just when they start flowering, because once the plant starts to flower, that means the fruit is going to be coming in a few days, and you want to make sure that the plant has soaked in all of that rich food before the fruit starts to be present. So that will be the first time you fertilize it, and then you want to fertilize it again in 2 weeks, and then in another 2 weeks, and then even after it bears fruit, you want to fertilize it again for the following year. The fifth step in growing a successfully sweet strawberry is watering. When you water strawberries, you want to water from the base, at the base, and get the soil soaked. You don't want to water from overhead. And if they are in full sun exposure, which they should be, you're going to want to water them every single day. because you don't want them to dry out, especially when they are starting to form and they are producing fruit. Otherwise, the fruit will not form well and they'll be terrible. And you also want to try to not and splash the fruit with mud while you are watering them. And those are the keys to growing a successfully sweet strawberry. Now, hopefully I haven't scared you in trying to grow strawberries. Truthfully, strawberries are quite easy to grow. They're prolific and they spread very easily if you put them in the ground. So these are just a few tips to help growing the best, sweetest strawberry. But don't be afraid to grow strawberries. They'll grow in almost anything, in any type of soil, anywhere. So just make sure you plant them in soil and water them and keep them away from the birds and other wildlife. You're going to have some good strawberries. Couldn't fit all the strawberries into the window boxes, so my husband's weeding right around this planter box so that I can actually even get to this box. And just like that, they're all in. Thanks for watching, and until next time, feed the pollinators for me.